Hello, welcome to the Confessions of a Plant-Powered Sisterhood, where we talk about
sex,
life and aging in our
40s,
50s,
and 60s. Today we're going to talk about the glycemic index, and all of the mysteries will be unveiled. So, Brooke,
all right. So this is a
start.
big passion project for me.
Yeah.
I have always, all my life, like when I was little, I was really, really skinny, but I always crave sugar. And like literally I was so skinny, I'd look in the mirror, I'm like, does this make me look too thin? I was tall, I'm 5'10". But then of course, as I get older, everyone's like, oh, it'll catch up with you when you get older. And sure enough, it did. And so even before I went plant-based, I was fascinated with the glycemic index and researching it. Can you hear? I was always trying to figure out, like, why am I craving so many sweets and food? Like, I just always felt hungry. And I realized that I think a lot of it had to do with the glycemic index and the type of foods I was eating. So I remember reading a book about the glycemic index and combining, but back a while, like way before I went plant-based, and realizing that it didn't really answer all the questions that I had. And I feel like just recently we've been coming really far on understanding our glycemic index and the spikes and everything. In fact, I just did a thing through Zoe, which is, they have a podcast and it's a whole nutrition thing, but I was able to have like a glycemic monitor on my arm, a continuous glycemic monitor.
How long did you do that?
For 2 weeks.
Okay.
And so you can basically test food and see how it sticks on right here, and it reads on your phone, and you just boop every 8 hours, tap on there, and it tells you what your spikes look like and where you were, like all throughout the day.
So do you have to eat foods individually so you can see each one, or?
Well, you can, they have an option for you to do different tests if you want. And I didn't do it because I already kind of knew that stuff. And so I was just really seeing the food that I'm eating now and how that responded for me. And the reason that I did it was I just was fascinated by it because I think it's really interesting. But you see it everywhere, either that or it's just like in my algorithm, because it's constantly coming up for people being able to get those.
I've had a lot of people ask about CGMs. So I'm glad we're talking about it.
Yeah, so that's fascinating. But there are ways that you can deal with it without having to put that on your arm. And it is kind of like, it doesn't hurt when you put it on, but it's a little annoying to wear. Like, it's really not super fun. But I was fine. I handled it. I'm just a little bit of a wimp. But the idea of something stuck in my arm like that for 2 weeks was just weird.
Can you take it off and on?
No.
You can't. Oh, once
it's
you
like
put
a
it
needle
on.
in you.
Oh, is it a needle in you?
Yeah, I had one for a week.
Yeah, it's when I took it out and then I touched it, it was like a hair. So it was very thin, like a hair that stuck in. So I was like, oh, that made me feel better, because I was picturing a big giant pin or something, you know, like
I was thinking of like,
yeah.
But I know what you're talking about. I only had to wear it for a week. It was for a different purpose, but it was like, it was just kind of tender, and it was kind of like rub, and I was just always aware of it.
I felt sick when I was wearing it. I'm like, I feel like a patient, which is weird. You know, it's like,
that's
I'm
a good point.
But, you know, I'm just trying to learn and understand how my body reacts to food. But what I've realized over time is that, like, do you guys have moments where you feel like you go throughout the day that all of a sudden you'll crash and you'll just be like, oh, I'm so tired, or I just want food? Like, do you have a set time that you do that?
Usually
I do probably, I think after I eat it, but I mean, consistently, usually around 3 or so.
Yeah.
Right. 3 o'clock for sure. And then after, and so what I've noticed is that specifically certain foods will make me feel that way. So like if I have something with rice in it, I'll be tired afterwards. And I've, you know, like there's certain, you can eat your food in an order where it helps, where rather than your index going high, spike high up and drop down low. Because when it goes high, then you feel that peak of like the, you know, it's like it's like a high in your brain almost. And then it drops low, and then it makes you tired. So then your body like wants to eat more sugar in order to get it back up again. And so the key is to keep your glycemic index more flat, where it just is lighter, like little peaks and rises. It's better for your body and it's better for your cravings. If your body is going up and down like that, that's, you're asking for type 2 diabetes, that kind of thing.
So what order
Which
do
is
you
why
eat?
it's important. So when you do the order, you want to have something green or like a vegetable before. If you can eat that at first and then eat your fat and protein. So like it goes protein, then fat, or like a combination of that. And then anything that's starchy at the end. So fruit, potatoes, rice, white stuff, dessert, that kind of thing. But you can also have them combined in a bowl. Like if you compare just having like a bowl of white rice as opposed to a bowl of white rice with beans, it stays flatter. But then also just pay attention to yourself, how you feel after you eat stuff. So I've realized that I just am starting to avoid rice because I notice even if I do it in that order, it will make me feel tired afterwards.
Yep.
Oh man.
I love rice too.
Yeah. Well, so
it does
how
it
do you
to
do?
me. Yeah.
Yeah. So we, in an earlier podcast, we were talking about the Taco Bell bowl. Does you get it without rice? Like with just
I
lettuce?
do get that with rice, but I ask for double beans.
Okay.
So I try so what I'll do if I get a mixture with a bowl, I'll try and eat like a couple of bites of the vegetable and then a couple of bites of the bean or the whatever the protein is, and then I'll mix it and eat everything together.
Yeah.
And
So
another thing, go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask, what do you notice when you eat in that order? Like you don't feel tired, but then do you eat less overall, you think, or what else are you seeing?
I don't feel hungry as soon as, so I can go longer for 3 or 4 hours before I eat again. And it's also easier for me to do intermittent fasting. So I can have a longer hour, I have like the shorter window time where I'm eating, but then a longer window when I go without food and I'm okay. I feel pretty stable. Yeah. So another thing that you can do is if you're eating, say you're like, I want pancakes. I don't care. I just want pancakes. Because like one of the things is to try and have more of a savory breakfast because that's, you don't want to start your day on this up and down, but like say you just do, you're like, pancakes. Have a glass of water with a tablespoon of vinegar, any vinegar in it. And if you drink that, that helps flatten your glycemic index.
Before you eat the pancakes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like if you're having a cake, you're going somewhere and, it's hard to do if you're out because it's not like you're going to have the vinegar with you. But if you're at home,
bring it in a little
have
mason jar with you. Guzzle it in the bathroom before you go out into the restaurant.
Or you could ask for vinegar. I don't know. And put it in or.
What does that taste like? Whenever you say that,
really
I always think, oh, that.
It's okay. I do apple cider vinegar. It's probably the least offensive.
And how much do you put a tablespoon in like a glass, like an 8-ounce, like a cup?
That was very popular a couple years ago, right? I remember hearing about apple cider vinegar, a couple of tablespoons before a meal.
Yep.
Yeah.
And another thing with your digestion, right? Also.
I don't know. Yeah. And I'm not sure why it helps. It's something about like having something like a pickle or vinegar, even pickles before is useful. So having, like sauerkraut or kimchi. And I do notice that like when I add sauerkraut to foods, it helps with my gut and also my sugar.
Yeah, I have something to add there. And I never knew why. So I think what you're explaining is my missing piece. But when I first got sick and went macrobiotic, I actually went to the Kushi Institute for Macrobiotics in Massachusetts, and it was required 30 minutes before every meal, we had to have a bowl of miso soup, like dark red miso, usually like fermented. And and I never knew the science behind it. I knew like the energetic explanation from macro, but that made a huge difference for me. But also there's always on a complete macrobiotic plate, there's always pickles or sauerkraut or something like that. And whenever I've done that, like I try to go back to it in my life. I'm not so good about before every single meal,
Right.
but it dramatically affected, because I remember back then I was able to do it for years, and I remember feeling like I was eating a lot, but I was just constantly losing weight. And I didn't understand the science of like having this miso before every meal, but I know they told us like it gets the stomach ready. And I think that scientifically now that's probably activating the good gut bacteria in our gut, and makes it digest and break down food easier maybe.
That
But
makes
I
a
do
lot of
try
sense.
that every
That makes a
morning
lot of
before
sense.
breakfast. I either have a cup of miso soup now, or like a quarter, a third a cup of sauerkraut. If you can find, good
Good idea.
unpasteurized sauerkraut, or I should make it at home really. But that's interesting that now there's all this science of why, and it's like this ancient Japanese.
Well, they
I
knew
know,
what they were
right?
doing. They knew what
They
they were
did.
doing, right?
Yeah, they have fermented foods with every
Yeah.
meal.
Yeah.
It was,
I like
yeah.
fermented
Okay.
foods. I like
Yeah, I
fermented
think
foods.
what you're saying, Catherine, makes sense. Just to have that as a good rule of thumb. Is
Yeah.
anytime you're going to eat, have a small salad or a small bowl of soup, preferably
Mhm.
like a miso or something that has
Yep.
something that is a little bit that can activate, like a vinegary or a probiotic.
It kind of
type.
presets it. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
that's what the vinegar in the,
Mhm.
especially
In
if
the
it's a
water.
good
Yeah.
apple cider. Yeah, I guess it
Yeah.
has the same effect.
Yeah.
Maybe kind of setting it. I would be interested to know.
I want to look into that a little bit. And
Mhm.
kind of
Yeah.
the science
And then
of that.
another thing, like I used to have oatmeal for breakfast,
Yeah.
and I've completely stopped doing the oatmeal
Me
at all.
too.
I don't do oatmeal at all. So like what I'll do, right here, I have it. I'll show you. This is, I don't know how exciting that looks, but that's just
That
chia
looks yummy.
seeds. It's chia seeds, apples, berries, sesame seeds, a little bit of yogurt mixed in. But like what I do is I take hemp hearts, chia seeds, add almond milk, and let it sit for 15 minutes. And then I'll add a cut up apple, some blueberries or blackberries, whatever kind of berries, add on some walnuts, sunflower seeds or pepitas. And
It really
then
is so good.
sometimes I'll
It's so
blend in a
addictive.
little bit of a coconut yogurt if I
Yeah.
have it. But it is the most filling thing.
Mhm.
And it just
Yeah.
it makes me have so much energy.
Yep.
And like I could live on this. Like literally this, I could just eat this. But what I've realized is that I need more seeds and nuts
Starch.
with it in order for me to like stay stable.
To be full.
Yeah.
And you're
so
not saying.
so
Sorry,
I
go on.
do like find that I'm better off if I have the tablespoon of vinegar before I eat this, just because it is fruit,
Mm.
And I mean, you do have the nuts help, and the chia seeds, but yeah, that's my way to be able to have it and still stay flat.
So you're not suggesting that people stop eating oatmeal. You were reacting a certain way when you had it.
For me, it just didn't, it spiked my glucose.
And I agree with Brooke. I was having the same reaction. I couldn't understand because everybody kept talking about overnight oats and it's so good for you. And it is, but for me, it didn't, first of all, it didn't fill me up. Like I would eat it and like a half an hour later, I'm like, all right, what's for breakfast? And I'm thinking, this doesn't make any sense. So I stopped doing the oatmeal. And yeah, I think people love oatmeal and I think they should, if that's working for them, still do it. But then Brooke had come over and she was making this breakfast. I'm like, what are you eating? That looks really good.
I
And so
brought it with me.
she did. And now I make that every morning. And I agree with Brooke. It's just, it's the same reaction I have as I eat it. And I'm more alert. I don't feel like my blood sugar, like I'm getting sleepy. I'm not getting sleepy in the morning. And it keeps me full until I eat that like around 10. And then I don't eat my main meal of the day until like 2 or 3. And so I am.
And it's a lot of chia seeds. It's 2 tablespoons.
Yeah.
So it's like you're basically replacing your oatmeal with chia seeds.
Yeah. And the hemp seed too is, the
Mhm.
hemp seed too. And then the nuts. So you get your really good omegas in that. So I'm really
Oh, yeah.
happy about that. And then you could put I put the apple in, I put cinnamon in now too. That I love
cinnamon's
cinnamon.
good
I
there.
love the taste of cinnamon in there.
It's very similar. Like if you think about it, Dr. Goldner, how she does the green smoothies, because she's really big on adding the omega 3s as much as possible because it helps your cells to repair. And the only thing I'm missing is the greens, but then I make up for that at lunch.
Yeah.
Just
Mhm.
do like a really big,
Yeah.
a lot of greens and whatever I make,
Yeah.
whether it's raw or cooked.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then make sure I have it. But like, and that's the key is every meal, especially is like, because we're plant-based, we have our food is it's carbs. And so, you know, some are good, some are some can still spike it is, but you need to make sure that you're having a lot of protein with your carbs,
Mhm.
as far as beans, tofu.
Tofu.
Like what other kind of proteins do you guys like to have with yours when you're eating?
Well, I put nuts in more of my stuff now than I used to,
Mhm.
for sure. And I
I
do the
probably-
seeds.
I probably
Mhm.
eat more tofu now because I feel like I need that fat
Mhm.
too. Because I
Mhm.
was when I'm just eating just salad and I have no fat in there,
Yeah.
I can't get full. So I do the air fried tofu and throw that in
Mhm.
there, and potato. I do put a little bit of potato, but a
Potato.
little bit. I don't eat
Yeah.
as much as I was because
We've
again,
also,
much
And lentils.
yeah,
and
lentils
lentils are really good
and
because those are
jackfruit.
that's
We've
true.
done jackfruit a lot lately.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
gotta
so
get more into jackfruit.
for me for breakfast, I'll either do this breakfast or I'll make the just egg, but
Yeah.
with mung beans
Mhm.
instead, like my own homemade one.
Mhm.
And that's really good. Then you can add greens in with it and
Right.
stuff. And so that's a
Mhm.
really good savory breakfast, or a tofu scramble is a great breakfast to start your day off.
Yeah,
Mhm. I try to have a cup of beans in my breakfast every morning.
That's
That's
good.
If I'm not having, so I'll have, so we had talked about it, you and I, a little bit over
Mhm.
the phone, the order, and I usually have, my exception are the days where I do tofu scramble and it's
Mhm.
got a little cooked quinoa in it and I'll have a
Mhm.
pile of greens. But
Mhm.
most days I just have 3 piles, like some greens and then some beans. And I try to get, my goal is like a cup of beans. And then I do love my yellow corn grits, like the polenta.
oh yeah,
And
Mhm.
it's
polenta.
so, and I think about you every time I sit down now, because I remember I'm like, well, Brooke said, you know, the greens first and then the beans and then the grits. But I put my Cajun seasoning on the grits and I find that they're like my happy place, you know? And so I find myself trying to get like 2 or 3 things on my fork at the same time. But your voice is in my head, like, I'm not supposed to do that. I'm supposed to say, but like the grits are kind of my favorite part. And the other
Yeah.
two, I'm just like, that's my penance, sort of like, so
So
I
save
can
the grits for dessert. Grits are dessert.
Yeah,
Like think of
I
that. Like yeah,
know, but
I
it's so
love
good when
polenta.
it
Or
I
gets
just
love
do the
mixed in.
vinegar and water. If
Oh,
that,
I
because
still,
like,
yeah, I
you
still
know,
do the miso every
Yeah.
morning.
yeah, the miso, then you're
Yeah, or
fine.
sauerkraut. I know,
Yeah.
but I did work on getting my grits section a little smaller,
Mhm.
you know, and
Mhm. Yeah,
and
it's funny
sometimes I
how
have,
that
it makes a big difference. You were right,
really.
because I get kind of, I think I get kind of defensive as a plant-based person when people start like talking about grains, and I'm like,
Yeah.
hold
Mhm.
on, grains are good for you.
They
But
are.
but I also notice, because sometimes my grain pile for breakfast is brown
Mhm.
rice, or like brown rice with
Yeah.
pecans. But I do notice if I eat like over a certain amount of those, that it's not, I don't feel so good. So I
Mhm.
have tried your way, and I think, and I did notice a difference in my response after the
Good.
meal, when I
Yeah.
did the greens first and
Yeah.
the beans. I just
Yeah.
kept looking at those grains like, can't wait to get there.
I gotta eat
But
my
sometimes,
greens to get my
but
brains.
see, I don't have that response with quinoa though,
Hmm.
which I know is technically a seed, but I notice
Yeah.
like if I have quinoa with a little salsa cooked in, I
Mhm.
don't have that same response that I
Yep.
do with the others. But
Yeah.
So
yeah, it works.
one of our cheats here is that we make rice with quinoa. And
Mm.
so then it
Oh.
breaks up that rice,
good.
and I still have a little
Yeah.
bit of rice in there, but I have the quinoa, and that seems to help my blood sugar.
Mhm.
If I do, like, I want some rice, but I'll eat it with the quinoa, and then
Yeah.
that's my cheat. And
Mhm.
That's
that's
it's what's funny, because I notice whenever I go out to eat, I'm like, I'll have, you know, the pasta dish with the vegetables, and then it'll come and it'll just be like this massive mound of pasta. And then
Yeah.
they'll have just like sprinkle on there some veggies and some mushrooms.
Yeah.
I'm like, where are the vegetables? Where's the, you know, and that's what's so hard. And that's how I used to eat, you know, it's like big mound of pasta or big mound of rice or big thing of, you know,
Yeah.
when I ate bread back in the day. But it's funny how it's like just flipping that so that that is like the smallest part, like you were saying, Catherine. It helps because otherwise, when you have that big amount, you're just like constantly wanting more food.
And then you're
But-
hungry. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you are a whole food plant-based vegan, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can eat pasta because there's no,
Yeah.
they say eat
Mhm.
pasta. So that's the thing is like,
Yeah.
even when you get to that point, Brooke and I talk about this all the time, you
Mhm.
got to refine it according to
Mhm.
what your body responds to. Some people probably could eat pasta and not have any issues with their glycemic level or whatever, or gain weight or not be able to lose weight. But for me personally, I can't do that. I can't eat a big plate. I love spaghetti. I mean, I haven't eaten spaghetti in I don't know how long, but I used to eat that all the time.
Oh yeah.
Even as a vegan, make my own sauce, have the
Yeah.
pasta and eat that and make my own meatballs out of, beans and stuff. But
Mm.
I couldn't lose weight. And also I just get blah. Or
Tired.
I'd want dessert. I'd want chocolate. That's
Yes.
the
Yeah.
thing. It's like after that thing goes down, my blood sugar level goes down. All I want is give me some
Sweet.
chocolate and I am on the hunt, like through the
Mhm.
house, like give me chocolate.
Yeah.
So
Well,
And chocolate's okay for you, dark chocolate.
yeah, but you're eating sugar because there's sugar
Mm.
in it and you're,
Yeah.
Yeah.
then you're feeding that glycemic level again. Then you're getting
Yeah.
that high and then you
True.
got to come down again. Like I need more chocolate.
for the pasta thing, I think because I have the same, I love pasta, same
Mhm.
as you. And I have the same similar response. I think for me personally, it's because it ends up being a low fiber meal at the end of
Mhm.
it, because I'm
Yeah.
not homemaking my lentil meatballs.
Yeah.
I'm either not having meatballs or I'm using like
Right.
the
Yeah.
processed soy ones. So
Right.
Yeah.
it like just in general for me compared to my other meals, it's very low in fiber.
Yeah.
And so I think my
Mhm.
body just doesn't respond as well because like the
Mhm.
fiber slows down the release
Yep.
of that sugar.
Mhm.
Because I
True.
wish I could eat pasta all day, but
Me too.
I know before I sit down to a bowl of pasta, I usually make myself eat like a cup of beans before I
Mhm.
do.
Yeah.
And then
There you go.
that means I eat
Mhm.
less of the pasta too. But
Yep.
sometimes, I just love the texture of pasta. But I think,
do
and I
too.
don't like beans in my pasta. I don't
Yeah.
think those
Yeah.
go together. So that's
Yeah.
something someone else could try maybe.
So what
I
I
think that's what it
do
is.
when I know that like if my son's birthday, whatever, he always likes spaghetti. So I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna eat that and feel like crap, or I'm gonna do so. So what I do is I make myself a really big salad. So
Mhm.
everybody's eating and I eat my whole salad. And then once I'm done, then I eat my pasta and I only give myself a small bit, but it's good because I'm full. I'm
Mm.
relatively
Yeah.
full now. And now I'm just enjoying the pasta. And because I ate the veggies first, I'm not getting that giant dip. So
Mhm.
that's kind of how I beat the system.
Beat the
I'm
system.
I'm
Yeah.
always about beating the system.
I know, because like, why suffer completely?
I
Like,
know.
it's like I want to have a piece of cake every once in a while,
Yeah.
and if
And I
okay,
do.
if I can figure out how to do that without dying
Yep.
and
Yeah. This
crashing.
this is very timely for me because I was in Louisiana this weekend because it's
Uh-huh.
Mardi Gras.
Oh,
So
that's
we're
right.
Cajun and I hunted down the fancy king cake place,
Okay.
made a vegan king cake
Oh,
for us.
yes.
And I brought it home and we're supposed to have family dinner tonight. And we're having this, and in my head all day, I'm having this conversation. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have, like, I can't not have it. Like, I want to
Yeah.
support the vegan choice. And this is like authentic from
Yeah.
Louisiana king cake. So it's not like, $5 Kroger one. I'm not going to
Mhm.
waste the
Right.
sugar on that. And so, but I keep thinking, I'm like, I know what it's going to do to me. I know what it's going to do. I'm going to be like, for me, it triggers like food addiction. So I was like, I'm
Mhm.
going to get into this cycle. And I'm like,
Yeah.
but how could I'm a bad Cajun if I don't have a bite of the king cake. And what if it's the piece with baby
The
Jesus?
little
And I was
devil,
going to have
the little
good
angel
luck
sitting there.
all
What
year.
about this? What
Yeah.
about that?
And I need that good luck. I need the baby Jesus in it. And I've been having this conversation
funny.
with myself all day. So I'm like, okay. I'm going to like load up on beans all day. I'm going to get all my veggies in. I'm going to have that cake and I'm going to set it aside. I'm going to walk away. But I really,
Yep.
I thought like, what am I going to do? Sit there with all my kids celebrating
Yeah.
our heritage and be like, oh no, I can't have that.
Yep.
Like, come on.
No, I
So I
agree.
gotta figure out a way to do it without like
Yeah.
going off the
We're all
rails.
very similar.
But I'm
Like
so
we all have that,
excited.
we all have that thing. I know.
Yeah.
I love when it's somebody's birthday and they want chocolate cake. I'm like, oh yes, I got 2 more weeks until their birthday. I'm counting down until my birthday. I got 3 more months, like, all right, I'm gonna have chocolate
Yeah.
cake. Yeah, I know. But hey, it's
Mhm.
life, you gotta enjoy your life too.
Yeah.
But just, if you can do a cheat for yourself, that's great. But we shouldn't beat ourselves up, about
Right. Just
enjoying that.
prepare. For
Because,
me, preparing
yeah.
helps.
I mean,
Mhm.
sugar is a drug, and it's a
Mhm.
good drug.
Well, I
While
think
you're
it's
on
like the
it.
ultimate addiction that we have in
It is.
America.
Oh,
I
it is.
mean,
Oh my
yeah.
God. I'm not ever going to recover from it. I
No.
admit that I am a sugar addict. I'm going to eat it occasionally, but I do have to break it. Like I get on like these 2-week binges, and then I'm
Yeah.
like, that's it. And then I do it cold turkey. But then as soon as someone goes, oh, I brought you a vegan cupcake, I'm like, oh, thank you. And I
Right?
can't turn it down.
Right.
Yeah, I can't turn it
Exactly.
down. Yeah. So, well, thank you for
Yeah.
sharing. I
Mhm.
really
I
appreciate
learned a
it.
lot on this one.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, so we can still enjoy our addictions.
Yeah.
In moderation.
That's the
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, that's the point. I mean, what's life otherwise? Especially when we're
Mhm.
moms and we're social, it is really hard. I mean, there are people
Yeah.
that are perfect that don't succumb to this stuff, but yeah,
I'm not going to mention any names.
Yeah, I could think of some right now,
Me too.
but yeah,
And good for them.
good
They
for
get the
them, right?
award.
I
them.
like
I'll give them the
totally
Academy Award for
worship
them.
them.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's very, very good. I aspire. I don't always
Yes.
get there.
yes.
Dilution is the solution to pollution.
I love it.
All right, so I think that's good for now. If you have any other
Yeah.
tips or tricks, please add them
Yeah.
in the comments for YouTube or email us at
Yeah, we wanna hear it.
info@wellness-20.com.
Thank you,
Bye.
lady. Bye.
Bye.